In the brutal Montana winter of 1879, Sarah Jeffries is left alone when her husband disappears without a trace, forcing her to fight for survival with her young daughter in a world where the cold kills faster than bullets. Just when all hope begins to crumble, a weary stranger named Brock Zimmerman appears at her doorstep, seeking shelter from a deadly storm. His quiet strength and unexpected kindness begin to melt the walls around Sarah's wounded heart. But as winter thaws into spring, she must confront an impossible choice: cling to the past that abandoned her, or embrace the love that found her. The winter of 1879 carved its name into Montana's memory like a scar, long, frozen, and unforgiving. Snow piled against cabins until it seemed the whole frontier bowed under its weight. Winds screamed across the plains like lost souls searching for warmth, and every breath stung like needles. For Sarah Jeffries, the cold was not only in the air, it had seeped into her heart. Her husband, Benjamin, had left in early December, promising to return in a week. He carried with him their last few dollars and the desperate hope of finding work in Miles City. "Just a few days, Sarah," he had said, kissing little Emma's forehead. "I'll be back before the next snow." But the next snow came the very next morning, and Benjamin didn't. By the third week, Sarah had worn her hope thin. By the fifth, she knew he wasn't coming home. Maybe the cold took him. Maybe the wolves. Maybe he simply chose not to return. None of the possibilities eased the hollow terror that filled her each time she looked at Emma, barely 5 years old, bundled in a quilt too big for her small frame. Sarah kept the fire burning, but wood was running low, and the small cabin built from Benjamin's hands suddenly felt too large, too empty, too cruel. It was during one of those nights, when the storm beat against the walls as though demanding entry, that fate decided to intervene. A knock came at the door. Sarah froze, heart racing. Visitors were rare in winter. Visitors after dark were almost unheard of. Gripping the iron poker from the fireplace, she approached the door as Emma peeked from behind her. "Stay back," Sarah whispered. She opened the door only a crack, letting in a slice of icy wind. A man stood outside, snow clinging to his hat and coat like diamonds in the lamplight. He looked weary, shivering, but strong, broad shoulders, rugged jaw, and eyes the color of storm cloud steel. "Ma'am," he said through the cold, voice gentle but strained, "I'm sorry to trouble you. My horse slipped on the ridge. I've been walking 2 miles through this storm. I need shelter. Just until morning." Sarah's grip on the poker tightened. A stranger in these parts could mean danger, but he could also mean salvation. The frontier rarely offered choices without risks. She hesitated one heartbeat too long. The wind roared behind him, making Emma whimper. "Please," the man said softly. "I don't mean you harm. My name's Brock Zimmerman." The name meant nothing to her, but the sincerity in his eyes softened her caution. "Come in," she said finally, stepping back. The man entered, stamping snow from his boots. The warmth of the fire brought color back to his face. He thanked her again and again, his voice low with relief. Sarah watched him closely as she prepared a small plate of bread and dried venison. She didn't have much, but she had enough to offer a man fighting a winter's wrath. Emma crept close, inspecting the newcomer with wide, curious eyes. Brock gave her a small smile, the kind that came naturally to a man comfortable with children. He told them he'd been heading north to visit family, traveling alone after delivering a load of supplies to a ranch. The storm caught him halfway. His horse had slipped on ice, injuring its leg. "I couldn't leave her," he said, staring into the fire. "But I had no choice. She wouldn't get back up." Sarah felt the ache in his voice. Loss was universal out here, man or woman, stranger or neighbor. That night, Brock slept near the fire, wrapped in a spare blanket. Sarah barely slept at all, keeping watch, though something about him eased her fears. By morning, the storm had passed, leaving behind a world of blinding white. Brock stepped outside to check on the horse and returned with a troubled expression. She's alive, he said. But she won't be walking anywhere for a long time. Sarah nodded. You can stay a while, until the road clears. He offered payment, what little coin he carried, but she refused. Hospitality was rare enough that it shouldn't be bought. Days passed. Then a week. Brock started chopping wood without being asked. He mended the back fence, shoveled snow off the roof, and even repaired Emma's broken wooden doll. Sarah found herself watching him more and more, his gentleness with Emma, his quiet strength, the way he worked without complaint and never once overstepped his place. He asked nothing of her. Not her labor. Not her heart. Not her trust. But gradually, all three began shifting toward him like iron to a magnet. Still, she held herself back. Benjamin might be gone, but he was not dead, not officially. And she was still a married woman, bound by vows made under a summer sky she barely remembered now. One evening, after Emma fell asleep, Brock lingered by the fire as Sarah mended a torn sleeve. You're strong, he said quietly. Most wouldn't have lasted this winter alone. I didn't have a choice. Maybe not. But you faced it anyway. She looked up. His gaze held warmth she hadn't felt in months, maybe years. I don't want to bring trouble to your door, he continued. I know your husband, he might return. Sarah swallowed, unsure whether she wanted Benjamin to return or feared it more. He left, she whispered. And he didn't look back. Brock nodded slowly. Then maybe he didn't deserve what he had. The simplicity of the words, spoken without judgment, without presumption, hit her harder than she expected. Tears stung her eyes, the first she had allowed herself since Benjamin disappeared. She turned away, but Brock gently placed a hand near hers, not touching, but offering nearness. You're not alone anymore, Sarah. That night, she cried quietly, letting grief and guilt wash through her like the storm outside once had. When she finally slept, it was the first peaceful sleep she'd had in months. As winter stretched into late January, the cabin no longer felt empty. Laughter returned, Emma's giggles as Brock taught her to whittle small pieces of wood, the soft hum of Sarah's voice as she cooked dinner. Brock fixed the barn door, replaced broken window panes, and even carved new shelves for the kitchen. But with the comfort came conflict. What if Benjamin returned? What if the town whispered? What if feelings she never meant to grow took root anyway? One afternoon, Brock prepared to travel to the nearby town to purchase medicine for Emma's cough. Sarah watched him saddle a borrowed horse. You don't owe us anything, she said softly. He met her eyes. I owe you my life. Before she could respond, he gently brushed her cheek with a gloved hand, barely a touch, yet enough to send her heart stumbling. I'll be back before sunset, he promised. As he rode away, Sarah realized with a startling jolt that she feared his absence more than she ever feared Benjamin's. When he returned, dusk painted the snow pink and gold. He carried not only medicine but a small ribbon for Emma and a pair of warm gloves for Sarah. I just thought you could use them, he said shyly. Her breath caught. Gifts were rare in her life. Gentleness even rarer. That night, after Emma slept, Sarah stood by the window as snow fell lightly outside. Brock approached quietly. Sarah, he said, voice low, I need to ask. When spring comes, do you want me to leave? Her heart pounded. Words stuck in her throat. He stepped closer, not touching her. I won't stay where I'm not wanted. But I don't want to leave you. Or Emma. Silence hung between them, heavy with unspoken truth. I don't know what the right thing is, she whispered. Benjamin, he may be alive. And if he is, Brock replied softly, I'll walk away. But if he isn't, if he chose to abandon you, then you deserve better than an empty door. Her eyes filled. I'm scared, Brock. So am I. Their foreheads touched, gentle, tentative, trembling with emotion neither dared claim yet. Weeks turned to months. Spring crept slowly across Montana, melting snow into rivers and revealing earth ready for new beginnings. Benjamin never returned. No letters. No rumors. No sign he ever intended to come back. One April morning, Sarah stood at the edge of the field, watching Brock repair the fence as Emma chased butterflies nearby. Something shifted inside her, a realization as quiet as the thawing snow. Her grief had shaped her. But her hope was choosing again. When Brock approached, wiping sweat from his brow, she met him halfway. "You don't have to leave," she said softly. His breath caught. "Are you sure?" She nodded. "I want you to stay. With us." For the first time since he'd arrived, Brock allowed himself to smile fully, relieved, joyful, almost disbelieving. He took her hands gently, reverently. "Then I'm home, Sarah." And in that gentle Montana spring, after a winter filled with loss, they built a future born not from desperation, but from love chosen freely, tenderly, bravely. A love that began in a storm and bloomed beneath the returning sun.